Good morning, good morning. It is Monday the 15th. 15th? Is it? Oh my God, it's the 15th of May. We're halfway through May. It's the 15th of May, 2023. I hope you can hear me loud and clear coming to you from the freezer in Durham, where I live. It's bloody cold. Hello, everyone in the chat. We've got loads of people in the chat today. Make sure you hit that like button from Megan Elite. Great advice, thank you. We've got Marza, we've got Master Templar, we've got Sandro, we've got Purity, we've got One Angry Pagan, we've got Anya Malloy, we've got Rusted Dynamo, we've got David, we've got Gardy, we've got Tim again, I think. No, just the once. We've got Cathal and Dave and City Life and Rusted Dynamo and Ian. Wow, we've got loads of people here. Brilliant. Today, we're going to talk about democracy, which the Manic Street Preachers once declared was an empty lie. Well, you know, there's things to be said about voting competitions. The main one being that if you let people vote for stupid things, they will vote for stupid things just for a laugh. For example, there was a competition to name a boat in Britain, and the winning entry was Boaty McBoatface. A few years earlier, there was a competition, I think it was for Mountain Dew. I don't want to say it was Mountain Dew in case it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure it was Mountain Dew for their new flavour of Mountain Dew. And the winning entry was called Hitler Did Nothing Wrong. Yeah, that was the flavour of the... I think it was Mountain Dew. This is why sometimes it's not that good to let people vote on stuff when they're not particularly informed, or they're just voting for something for a laugh. Like Brexit or Trump. Yes, I know people who voted for Brexit just to see what would happen. Aren't we funny? Bankrupting our own country. What cheeky little monkeys we are. Yeah, people voted for Trump just to see what would happen. Just to see how much stress they could put on the good people of the world by having a person in charge who is an absolute idiot. Right, now talking of democracy, there have been some complaints that Labour under Keir Starmer are trying to destroy democracy. They're going to destroy it. Do you know how they're going to destroy it? They're going to let more people vote. That's how they're going to destroy it. They're going to allow EU citizens to vote in this country like they should have been able to vote back in 2016 during a referendum which basically would upend their life if we decided to leave the EU. We did decide to leave the EU, and over 3 million people had their lives upended. Madly, you could have voted in that referendum if you were from the Commonwealth. Commonwealth countries. So if you were from the far-flung South Pacific nation of Tuvalu, you could vote in that election. But if you were from the far-flung country of France, 30 miles over the channel, you couldn't. Even though it didn't affect the people of Tuvalu in any way, shape or form. Except maybe it would cut the amount of money we could give them in aid as their country goes slowly underwater because we don't have any money anymore because the Tories have spent it all on their mates, on being idiots and just, yeah. Anyway, so what Keir Starmer wants to do is make people who are 16 and 17-year-olds be able to vote, and people who are EU citizens be able to vote. And this is front page of the Express. That he's trying to destroy democracy, and people like that Lemon, what's his name, the New Statesman guy, you know that big vile slug, Andrew Neil, who was allowed to be on the BBC, even though he was. Oh, sorry, not New Statesman. Sorry, take that back. Spectator. Sorry to all the people, good people working at the New Statesman. Not you. I was thinking of Alan Bastard for some reason. Rick Mail. No, all the people working at the Spectator, which is a right-wing rag of a magazine. Yeah, the editor of that for many years. And I think he still is actually. Andrew Neil, the guy who helped found Gogglebox News or GBBs or whatever you want to call it. Gammon Box News, that's the one. He was on Twitter complaining about this. He was saying, the Tories are never going to get in again if this happens. If you bring in PR, Labour will, the Tories will never get in again. It will always be Labour. It will always be Labour. And it was just like, oh, mate, okay, so you're complaining about there being more democracy. And this is the party that has spent the last few months, and obviously we saw this in the local elections, trying to suppress democracy. I've not seen many news stories about that, by the way, about the suppression of democracy by the Conservative Party. Talking of suppression of democracy, we're going to head over to Turkey in a moment to talk about the presidential elections in Turkey. But we will talk about that in a moment. And yes, I am qualified to talk about the Turkish presidential elections because although I'm not Turkish myself, it's a thing that's happened in the world on which we all live. I love these gatekeepers who go, oh, you can't talk about American politics because you're not American. I was like, it does affect the rest of us, you know. It's not like you live in isolation. I'm sure if there was a colony on Mars and they had their own elections, I probably wouldn't comment because, do you know what? That's never going to affect me. They're literally millions of miles away. But any country in the world that elects or a new government or has a usurper take the throne or has a military coup or whatever it is, it all affects the rest of the world. Take Somalia as an example. Somalia is it's been pretty much an anarchy since the early 90s. I mean, it's in a bad way. And as a result of that, in the 2000s, after a lot of the fish went missing, some say it was Chinese fishermen came along, took all the fish from the shallows around Somalia because there was no Somalian Navy to stop them. There was no Somalian Coast Guard to go, oi, bugger off with your nets. And then all these Somalian pirates, jumping ahead there, all these Somalian fishermen were like, where's our fish? We can't eat. We're starving here. And, you know, starvation makes people pretty desperate, especially when their families are starving. And so they turn to piracy. And then that, in turn, made international shipping cost way more because so much of the world's shipping went through the Suez Canal, through the Red Sea, and along the coast of Somalia. And there was a point when they were operating all the way from Somalia. You could draw a line from Somalia to India. Well, maybe not India, maybe the Maldives. To the Maldives. And that was like the pirate operation zone because they were operating out of motherships, you see. Anyway, so one country failing, one country having problems in that respect, it affects everyone. John Donne was right when he talked about, you know, when Europe loses a clod of land, then England is the lesser, or something like that. I can't remember the exact word to use, but basically no man is an island and everything in the world affects everything else. So let's talk about Turkey, but in a moment, because first of all, I'm going to say hello to Darren, who's out there. Thanks for joining us. We've also got Purity saying many British Remainers living in the EU weren't allowed to vote either. Yes, that's a very good point. Literally well over a million Brits living in the EU weren't allowed to vote because they've been out of the country 15 years, as was their right, because they were EU citizens. They could live anywhere in the EU. And then suddenly they were told, no, you can't live anywhere in the EU, and we're not even going to allow you a vote in the matter. Democracy. Yeah. Frank Puny, I think there's a saying, the best cure for the ills of the dictator is more democracy. I think so too. I mean, you know, it doesn't always go according to plan. It doesn't always go, but worth having. I feel. You know, don't tell the Express though; they'll have a fit. Oh my God, he's trying to kill democracy with more democracy. One of the reasons why I don't go in for the whole let's slag off Keir Starmer fest that like is very popular with talking heads on the internet. I think we've got that covered, guys. I think we've got all of the tabloid newspapers pretty much actually hate Starmer and don't really want him to be Prime Minister. I think they see all the TV news channels are probably run by people like, you know, Gammon Box News, Talk TV, even the BBC, people who don't really want a Labour government. We've got a covered, guy. It's okay, there's someone doing that already. It's like people shilling for Putin. It's just like, why are you doing this? Literally, there's people who are paid to do that. You don't have to do this. You don't have to say that you like a movie that you don't like in reality online for money. For nothing, sorry, because there's people doing that for money. Or maybe get a job doing it for money. You don't have to. Anyway, democracy often gives results that people don't like. Personal preference would be that at least it's a majority voting in favour. Ian says, what we shouldn't do is interfere like Robert Mercer did. Marza Jeddah said, in Indie Ref 2014, everyone living here for a certain time had a vote. It was a democratic thing to do. Yes, it was. Absolutely, it was a democratic thing to do. But that independence referendum was won by the no vote on a lie. On a lie. That they said, oh, well, if you leave, you're going to have to rejoin the EU, and that's going to be a long and painful process, and it's going to impact your economy to the tune of, I don't know, maybe like 4% of your entire GDP for the next 20 years. Guten Morgen, Wes. All the editors do hate him because he sent some of them to jail. That's very true. He tried to get Rebecca, I want to say Rebecca Vardy. No, that's someone else. Rebecca, I forgot her name, the red-haired lady who worked for Murdoch. Starmer tried to basically put her in jail, and they're not really going to forgive that anytime soon. Brooks, that's it, Brooks. Rebecca Brooks. Thank you very much, everyone in the chat there, for helping me out. So let's talk a little bit about Turkey. Yes, if anyone feels the urge now to comment, you're not qualified to talk about Turkey. Okay, I'm going to talk about it anyway, though. You can't stop me. I live in a democracy. Right, okay, so Erdogan, who's been in charge pretty much since 2003, when he was prime minister, and then he became president in, 2014. 3 years later, alarmed at the fact that he was becoming more and more populist, religious, isolationist, stupid, I don't know. For various reasons, there was a military coup against Erdogan. And do you know what the old saying is, don't you? If you aim for the king, you better not miss. And they missed. And so what Erdogan did in response is he basically dissolved the post of prime minister and ran the government, and therefore ran the country as just executive power, being able to do everything, anything. Foreign policy, domestic policy, earthquake response, 40% inflation, whatever you want. So just a little bit of a little flashback to 100 years ago in Turkey, when we had Ataturk, who was a general, I think, in World War One, and he took over Turkey sort of after the Ottoman Empire had collapsed, and he was very, very, very secular, very secular. He was quite anti-religious, actually. So, for instance, headscarves were not allowed to be worn in public buildings, in schools, I don't think, and also in kind of government offices, you weren't allowed to wear headscarves. He was responsible for changing the script over there from Arabic lettering to Latin lettering, and that's why they use Latin lettering in Turkey still to this day. And Ataturk's on all the banknotes. I mean, there's statues of him all over the country. He's revered as the founder of the modern nation of Turkey, or Türkiye, as it's known now. And I think it's pronounced Türkiye, which is like, this isn't Turkey enough. We need something that's a bit Türkiye. Yeah. Either one will do for now. We're still in the transition period of sort of Burma stroke Myanmar. Or Myanmar. Rebecca Brooks, now head of News UK. The correct Turkish pronunciation is Erdogan. One. See, you can say one. Erdogan. Did he win? Did he, though? Did he? I think Ataturk was an antitheist. Antitheist. Yeah, I think he was. He made it very. He pulled Turkey kicking and screaming into the 20th century, and was very Western facing in his presidency. Anyway, but since then, they've had 4, I think, military coups where the military has taken over the government and said, "Oh, stop being so religious," and tried to keep it secular. But under Erdogan, I'm going to call him Erdogan now from now on, if that's all right, like Obi-Wan, but Erdogan. Since Erdogan basically bested this coup in 2017, he's taken more and more executive power for himself, and he's a populist leader. He knows the right things to say to get certain people in Turkey happy, make them happy. Certain older people, not being ageist. Hashtag not all old people, but a lot of old people. But he's been in power now for essentially 20 years. 20 years. Come on, time for a change. So, the opposition leader is a guy called Kemen Kılıçdaroğlu. I hope I'm saying that He was projected to get over 50% of the vote, but he's only got about 45%. So Erdogan is on 49.5%. Kılıçdaroğlu is on 44.5, I think, something like that. And there's a guy who is called Sinan Ogan, who is on about 5% of the vote. So it's going to go to a runoff in a couple of weeks' time. And basically, Sinan Ogan is able to be the kingmaker. And normally you'll think, okay, well, he wants to get rid of Erdogan, obviously, because he's there, isn't he, saying, oi, I'm going to stand against you because I don't want you to be president. But now he's out the competition, he's a nationalist. He's quite far right. He's a far right nationalist. He's a far right. Although he left the far right nationalist party in 2017, and I think he's running as an independent actually. But you've got two factors here. I think he wants Erdogan out, but at the same time, I don't know if he's going to go in for Kılıçdaroğlu's camp, because that's like a progressive camp of just a load of different Turkish parties who just really, really want Erdogan out because he's been there too long and he keeps making really bad decisions and the inflation's at like 40% and he's blocking Sweden joining NATO because reasons. And it's becoming a bit difficult. Oh, and his response to the earthquake, which killed over 40,000 people just a few months ago, it was a terrible response. And one of the reasons why so many people died was because of the corruption under Erdogan, where you could just build whatever you wanted. And so a lot of these properties, they just pancaked. They weren't earthquake proof in a known earthquake zone. And yeah, Erdogan's government have been in charge for 20 years, so there's no one else to blame, really. But he did blame other people. He's put a load of engineers, architects, and builders in jail because they're the ones to blame, not the people who allowed these things to be built in the first place. Anyway, inflation at 40%, more like 80%. Sorry. Ataturk said Turkey would not be a modern country until women had equal rights. Very progressive. That is very true and very progressive. Sky News was saying this morning that a lot of money, recovery money, isn't there. Where has it gone? Probably into the back pockets of Erdogan's friends. Erdogan versus Grandpa runoff, says Alec Barrett. Yeah, I think Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is 70 or maybe. He's very old. He's quite old. He's not being ageist. Not all old people are running for president of Turkey. But we have some better news for you in the world of voting and democracy, etc., etc. We also have news from Thailand, in which the Move Forward Party, which sounds a lot like my friend Josh Russell's Movement Forward, they're not a party yet, but they might be one day, which is moving for PR. Well, over in Thailand, the Move Forward, this youth party, has taken a staggering 147 of the seats in their lower house, which is just insane. That is no one expected that. No one saw this coming. Could have put a bet on that. You would have made a fortune. So along with the populist Putai party, which has been in charge since forever. Well, it's had the majority since forever. We'll get into this, but basically that they've got 286 seats altogether. However, because of skewed parliamentary rules over in Thailand, they have two houses. You can have any one you like in the lower house, but the upper house is basically it's a military appointed Senate, and they appoint the Prime Minister. Yeah. I think people are getting a bit sick around the world of being told what to do. But weirdly, as countries like Thailand move away from populism, as Turkey also seems to be moving away from populism, America arguably moving away from populism, and the UK definitely moving away from populism, especially with the Tories, because they're not very good at governing. They're very good at running campaigns. This is the one thing that you need to know about populists like Trump. He's a fantastic campaigner. He gets people on side. He's funny, makes a few jokes. Dickheads laugh at him. That's great, whatever. But when it actually comes to the hard task of governing, he hasn't got a clue. He hasn't got a clue. Him and Trump and Johnson, two cheeks of the same arse, both really good at getting people to vote for them. But once they're in power, they're like the dog that catches the car. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to govern. They don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to make a decision. Boris Johnson dithered on everything when he was Prime Minister. Absolutely everything. From the EU trade deal to our response to COVID. And his dithering cost people's lives in COVID. Because he couldn't make a decision. Or couldn't be asked to make a decision. Don't forget, he skipped 5 Cobra meetings. Oh, by the way, did you know he's taken over £250,000 from you, the taxpayer? You, the taxpayer, are paying for his legal costs to fight against Partygate allegations that they've gone through Parliament. £250,000 of your money in a cost of living crisis. One man took that. 250,000. Absolutely disgraced. Anyway, Thai Senate, House of Lords, but well dressed, indeed. So the big thing in Thailand, I mean, there's also the Bumjay Thai party. Bum. It's BH, so it's Bum. The Thai J Thai party, which is the party that wants to legalize cannabis, and they've had this. I mean, they've done it. They've legalized cannabis in Thailand because they used to have some of the most draconian laws in the world about having cannabis. Nowhere near on a scale of Singapore, where people are literally executed for having cannabis on them. They've kind of made it legal, and loads of people are making loads of money out of it now, and it's really helped the economy out because you don't have all this money just disappearing nowhere. And yeah, it's worked really well. Legalizing cannabis. Who would have thought it? Hey? Certainly not the guy in America in the 1930s who, after the massive failure with prohibition, decides to move on to cannabis as his next bête noire. If anyone saw the movie Reefer Madness, you'll know what I'm talking about. And Jeremy the Socialist Jug says, and he paid cash for his Cotswold property. Talking about Boris Johnson there. Bastards. Anyway, so yeah, basically they're projected to win about 70 seats. So we could get a really good coalition of people who in Thailand are a bit fed up of the fact that the military have so much power. Maybe things will change. I mean, the system's set up to keep the military at the moment in power in Thailand, and they'll say, oh, it's an emergency. But people are only prepared to put up with stuff for so long before they snap. And it looks like Thailand has finally shaken free of perhaps some people who just vote for who they're told to vote because they like authoritarianism, they like populism, they just fall for it all the time. And maybe the younger generation are a little bit more, not being ageist, not all young people, some young people are really stupid, but a lot of young people are very woke, very turned on to and aware of what is going on. They switched on, actually, not turned on. Well, maybe they are as well. You get quite randy when you're younger, don't you? Anyway, but yeah, they are awake to the injustices in the world, and thereby being woke. You know, like William Wilberforce and Robin Hood and Jesus. Anyway, so the other problem they have in Thailand is they have this strict. I was going to say crazy. I mean, no offense. The strict lèse majesté laws, and these lèse majesté laws mean that you can't offend the head of state, which is the king, in any way, shape, or form. And it can go as far as not standing up for the national anthem when you go to the cinema in Thailand, or if you stand on a banknote that's got his image on it, that's bad, and it can actually end in a prison sentence. And the weird thing about the lèse majesté laws in Thailand is it's forwarded to anyone who's a head of state of any country in the world. So when Trump was in power, it was I don't think anyone went down for it, but it was technically illegal to slag off Trump in Thailand because he was a head of state and you had to give him respect. Tug the forelock. Some people like bowing the head. Some people like tugging the forelock. I don't. I make no apology for that. Just don't like it. There we go. Hemp as a crop is the most effective compared to anything else for building clothing, fuel. You can even build a car with it. Build a car with hemp. Okay, off you go. It's not that I doubt it. I'm just saying, yeah, okay, if you want to do that. I think Germany will allow cannabis from the 1st of January 2024. Bertrand Russell said some people are authoritarian by temperament. Yeah, I think that, but it's not like that they are authoritarian. They just want to be told what to do. The right wing, we talked about this before, but it is the psychology of fear, isn't it? Why do people vote for the Tories? Why do people vote for the Republicans? Well, it's fear, and they love to fearmonger these parties and politicians to get people to vote for them. It's a big thing for them. I mean, how else are you going to get people to vote for your party when you have destroyed the economy, filled all our rivers full of shit? You have destroyed our faith in democracy, destroyed our standing on the world stage, you destroyed our credit rating. You've basically gone out with the family credit card and pissed it up the wall at Monte Carlo on cocaine and hookers and gambling. And now you've come home and you're like, oh, by the way, everyone's got to move out the house now. You've got to go live on the street. Why would anyone vote for that person? Why would they? They say, well, listen, I know we're all going to live on the street, but I'm going to protect you because I've got a big stick. And these people, these women and little kids who are fleeing from war zones might try and take our cardboard box off us. Oh, no, we don't want that. Yeah, we have had to move out of the house and we're not warm anymore. We're freezing cold, even though it's May. Jesus. But, you guys, we've got our box and those bloody people coming from some other coordinate of longer, they popped out their mum at some other arbitrary position on the planet, some coordinate of longitude and latitude. That's where they came out their mum, and so they might come and get you. You never trust those people who are born a bit to the left of us, or a bit to the right of us, or a bit down, or a bit up. It's mad, isn't it? That like someone in Kent feels more affinity to someone born in Cumbria, which is hundreds of miles away, than they do someone born in France, which is 30 miles away. It's kind of odd, isn't it? Anyway, George says hemp is an amazing material and well worth looking into what its uses are, which is like loads and loads. That's from George. Well, I don't disagree. I mean, I don't know enough about it to argue, but if that is the case, I don't know why they're not using more of it, because it's legal in lots of places, like in America. It's like no one's sort of grabbing the horns on that, which I would be. I'd be very tempted to grab some horns. Anyway, before I go, because it is now 2 minutes past 10, and I know that you're all itching to 10 on LBC and see what James O'Brien has to say about stuff. Maybe he'll talk about the same stuff I don't. I did. First of all, yes. Lastly, sorry, even I've been here for a while. Bet hemp isn't as comfortable as cotton. Yeah, probably not. Kent looks more like northern France than Cumbria. Yeah, it probably used to be attached, didn't it? It's old geology for you. Anyway, so another voting competition at the weekend, apart from the election in Turkey and Thailand, we also had the Eurovision Song Contest in my hometown of Liverpool. And I'm just showing off my pass here. Did anyone see Eurovision pass? Ow! And it was great. And the winner, the real winner, wasn't Sweden, wasn't Finland. It was Liverpool. It was the greatest city in the world, Liverpool, which really, really knows how to put on a show. It really knows how to put on a party. I met so many people who had nothing but really, really wonderful things to say about their experience in Liverpool. They absolutely love the bones of the place. The people coming from all over Europe and even all over the world. There were quite a few Aussies there, actually. And my friend, where's my flag gone? I lost my flag. Oh, this isn't very good. Oh, hang on, there it is. Fell off the table. My friend Charlie, he was him and the EU flag mafia were giving out EU flags left, right, and centre. They gave out 70,000 of these, and there was a story in the Mail that they were trying to sabotage. I think they called it sabotage. They were trying to ruin Eurovision by giving out flags of literally Europe. This is the flag of our continent, the greatest continent in the world. Not that Brexiteers think that. I guess they think that Asia, Australia, I don't know, South America is the best continent. I don't know which they think is the best continent. I'm a bit biased because I'm European and I feel European. But yeah, what I want to say is that it was a fantastic exhibition, concert, experience for the city of Liverpool. I'm so proud of my hometown. We really know how to put on a show. We really know how to put on a party. Scousers know how to do one thing. It's how to put on a party and possibly lose 3-0 to Man City. But we won't talk about that. Anyway, so yes, funny enough, I'm not a massive James O'Brien fan, says Freckle Puny. Well, there you go. Yes, it's the European flag, not the EU flag, says Lee Korn. It's not World Vision, says Aaron. Yeah, but so what? I mean, you do know that we're part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, right? Britain is part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And there's countries all over the world, including the aforementioned Tuvalu and Kiribati and Vanuatu, that are part of what was called the British Commonwealth, literally on the other side of the planet. So look, I guess there is a whole geographical thing to argue about. And I've been stung by this before. I once tried to set a Guinness World Record of going to every country in Europe without flying in 3 weeks, and I did it. And then I went to the Guinness World Record and said, look, here's my evidence. I just went to every country in Iceland to Cyprus in 3 weeks without flying, all on public transport. And they said, oh, that's great, Graham. But Cyprus isn't part of Europe. It's part of Asia, according to the United Nations. And I was like, that was the hardest one to get to. Anyway, the Commonwealth hate England. That's from Sean. I hate England. To be fair, right now I hate this country. But I have hope. I have hope that it will get better. It will redeem itself as soon as people stop voting for idiots. And yeah, my vote at the Eurovision was for Croatia, which was just the best song ever. And if you watch it on catch up, here's a suggestion for you. Maybe just watch the Croatian song and just watch the Finland song, Cha Cha Cha, and put the subtitles on. Oh, mate, it's a whole different experience because even though they were singing in their own languages, the subtitles were in English. And they're just absolutely bonkers. Brilliant, as it should be. Anyway, Jan Waller says, au revoir, peeps. It's been a pleasure. So thanks very much to everyone for watching. You are all absolutely incredible and awesome, and I love each and every one of you equally. If Brexiteers had their way, it would be England vision. Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Hold me back. I hate to say, but if I'll leave the UK if I got my freedom of movement back. I don't blame me. I think I would. Let's get everyone's freedom of movement back, and then we'll move. We'll move somewhere else. That sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan to me. Right. So everyone, I hope you have a great day. I hope you're getting some more videos up today. And I've got the video that I shot last week with Phil Morehouse, who's the most awesome person in the world, because you're watching this through the PC that he's given me. He's given me his old desktop PC, which means that we shouldn't be having the same problems that we were having on my laptop when I was trying to broadcast and get video and have different feeds coming in at the same time, and it was kind of messing up. And there were a few interviews that I've done for Labour Social that I've not been able to put online because they didn't work technically, which is one of the most painful things. Anyway, Starmer, says Sean. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Phil Morehouse will be back tomorrow at 9:30 for another morning brew. And until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.